The USA Gymnastics might be responsible for making all the rules and regulations for gymnastics, but are they really doing what they claim to do? They say that they promote and develop gymnastics at national levels and even provide a safe, empowering training environment. In light of recent events, we would beg to differ. Here's all the latest news you need to know about the USA Gymnastics Board. First up, did she have a choice? Yes, we're talking about Tasha Schwikert Moser. The 2000 Olympian could either continue working endlessly to hold USA Gymnastics accountable for everything that they've been doing, or she could do the opposite. We mean everyone knows what happened with Larry Nassar scandal, and the fact that Schwikert Moser was always in the top headlines throughout this chaos. But what's the other choice? Well, she could step into hell itself and take her advocacy to a whole new level. If she's working from the inside, then she could easily take a stand for the survivors of sexual abuse, which was, in fact, committed by the previous national team doctor, straight to the front line. Now, that group of survivors is a little complicated, simply because Schwikert Moser and her sister Jordan are both parts of it too. Long story short, it turns out that she didn't have much of a say in what happened. After a legal settlement between USA Gymnastics and the long list of plaintiffs, the end result was a dedicated seat on the board of directors for a Nassar survivor. Even though it seems like Schwikert Moser doesn't mind the opportunity, it is believable that her hand was in the air to volunteer as if it were a reflex. Next, the people are raising eyebrows. What happens when you start working with the organization that you've been advocating against? People start to ask questions. As for Schwikert Moser, taking the seat on the board almost sounds like it's the least that the 37-year-old could do. It's pretty clear that she wants to save the sport that she's dedicated her entire life to, even if that means becoming part of an organization that she sued back in 2018 for their lack of attention towards sexual abuse allegations. Not just that, but Schwikert Moser had noted on multiple occasions that the USA Gymnastics needs to have a better culture of transparency and accountability. Even though Schwikert Moser's 4-year term at the USA Gymnastics began this week, she still entered with some serious doubts. The woman is ambitious, but she's still skeptical of whether this national body can actually make the changes that they need to. Schwikert Moser doesn't live in delusion. She knows very well that her decision to join the very board that she sued will raise eyebrows. In her official statement, she said that many people would say to her that she shouldn't care about an organization that has a history of treating gymnasts horribly, but her response is always the same: someone's got to care, and it's time for change. Being part of the USA Gymnastics Board isn't all that this inspiring woman does. In fact, she's actually working as a senior associate attorney at Dallas-based law firm too. Still, it's not her work as an attorney that makes her qualified for this role, but it's her love for the sport instead. Being an athlete, Moser says that her passion for gymnastics is what took her to the 2000 Olympics and a set of NCAA all-around titles. Now that she's achieved enough on the field, it's time to take back the rose and focus on bringing change. She also said that she has the necessary tools required to make an impact, and that her ultimate goal would become the change that she wishes to see on the board. She hopes that there's a check and balance on all decisions made by the board from this point forward. There's been some big changes. The USA Gymnastics Board of Directors has already had some sweeping leadership changes over the past 5 years. We saw the women's national team program completely restructured, and even the hierarchical model of one person serving as the high performance director blown off into oblivion. In this new paradigm, the director position is now split into 3 different positions: developmental lead, strategic lead, and technical lead. As for who's taking up these roles, well, it's none other than Olympic medalists themselves, who would be better at running the board than the people who already know it inside and out, right? There's Sacramone Quinn as the new strategic lead, Chelsea Memel as the technical lead, and Dan Baker, who's taking over the developmental lead position. Schwikert Moser seemed to be on board with the idea of replacing one person with 3 equitable ones. It puts less pressure on one person to be jack of all trades, and there's no expectation of them turning out into a magical unicorn. She said that there's no person who could efficiently take on a single director role in US gymnastics. She also added that the 3-person panel is much better, saying that it's a smart change from the traditional way things were being run. However, nothing passes by without a hint of drama. Schwikert Moser wanted to hire Olympic gold medalist Dominique Moceanu as the strategic lead, especially because she stood up against the abusive coaching practices by former national team leaders like Martha and Bella Caroli. Even though she repeatedly said that she had no personal issues with the current hires, she still believed that the board missed a huge opportunity by passing on Moceanu. If anything, hiring her would have been in favor of USA Gymnastics because she's been a strong advocate for the Nassar survivors for the past few years. Next, nobody asked her. As far as we've heard, nobody consulted Schwikert Moser during this recent decision-making process. We think the fact that Moser was excluded just goes to show how poor the communication is at USA Gymnastics, and it sure doesn't make us happy. Even Schwikert Moser noted that every everything has been so secretive lately that the community feels alienated by the organization. As part of the board of directors, she's been told not to talk about a few things with the press as well. When the USA Gymnastics decided to announce who they were bringing on board for the women's artistic program, they still took quite a political stance. The spokesperson, Jill Geer, said that the organization was fortunate to have such accomplished candidates before announcing that they had reached out to Moshianu last week to discuss the ways they can work together. All Schwikert Moser had to say was that USA Gymnastics needs to make transparency a priority now. Being proactive instead of reactive might be the only way that they would regain the trust of the gymnastics community. Now in other news, there's a new Chief Communications and Marketing Officer. We just mentioned Jill Geer, right? Well, she's the new Chief of Communications and Marketing Officer at USA Gymnastics, and of course, their official spokesperson. Not only is Geer a 20-year veteran of the Olympics community, but she's also pretty experienced with the latest tech. She's working on improving internal and external communications and working on social media, branding, content development, and digital strategy. All those fancy things that Gen Z is always doing. Even the USAG CEO, Li Liang, sounded pretty excited to have Jill on their team during such trying times. Since she's so committed to helping athletes relay their stories, the USAG is hoping that she can help improve relationships with the press and bring a whole new dimension to the team. Next, Nassar victims get a hefty settlement. If you never got to read the end of the Larry Nassar scandal, then let's give you some of the main updates. The victims reached a $380 million settlement with the USA Gymnastics after a super long 5-year legal battle. The settlement also includes the USAG and Olympic Committee agreeing to designate some of their board seats to the survivors and promise to implement new policies that would protect athletes from such abuse in the future. This settlement covered claims brought by all the top Olympic gold medalists that brought them up. So that's Simone Biles, Ali Raisman, Michaela Maroney, and the most high-profile victims of the entire case. Lastly, Katherine Carson got her big moment. In the latest news, the USAG board chair, Katherine Carson, got a big recognition by the National Associate of Corporate Directors during their 2022 event. The event pays gratitude to the top peer-nominated leaders in the boardroom and is focused entirely on the corporate governance community. Carson earned this recognition at just the right moment. Ever since the Nassar scandal in 2018, she's been leading USA Gymnastics through the difficult search for a new SEO and even started filing for bankruptcy and reorganization, which is probably what won her this huge award. Carson has implemented some changes at the USAG, especially by creating a culture that puts athletes at the center of decision-making. Liang said that Carson was super deserving of his honor and that her steady leadership and unflappable judgment were commendable. Here's to hoping things only keep moving for the better now. And that's a wrap for this video. What do you think about Schwikert Moser joining the USAG board? Let us know in the comments below. Before you click on any other awesome video of ours, don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to keep getting the latest info on everything. See you next time.